Today's World Cup draw reaction is presented by Haleon, the maker of Advil, Centrum, Tums, Sensodyne, and Voltaren. They've teamed up with US Soccer for The Assist. It's called For the Assist, a campaign celebrating all the moments of support that make the big goals possible, because every goal starts with an assist. In the history of the United States men's national team, the man you're looking at has the most goals and most assists in the history of our country. And we have ourselves a World Cup on American, Canadian, and Mexico's soil. It will shatter every record from television revenue to television ratings ever. Landon, you and I have talked multiple times before, but I think the thing that's exciting to me is you were one of the rare Americans that could go overseas and be prominent and dominant in the States. This group of players, and they've grown up in a different reality, right? We've got multiple players playing overseas. It's the most intense soccer. Most of the best basketball is in the States. Most of the great soccer is in, let's say, Europe. Mm-hmm. I believe you're just more battle tested. I feel like this group of players has faced greater competition. It's almost like they're more mature kids than you had the opportunity, Clint Dempsey or Alexi. Our soccer has grown. It does feel like a little bit more European. Take me to your history, that how you changed as a player, the more you faced international players, how because I feel this group, they have an advantage over your era, is that they've been more international consistently. And I think that helps us in bigger stages, in bigger tournaments like the World Cup.
So theoretically, for sure. And they've played at a higher level more often than we ever played. The challenge is, Colin, and you know this, generationally, that when you grow up with $1 million contracts when you're 18,
yeah,
soccer on TV, everybody knows your name, you're famous, you're popular, whatever, you lose a little bit of the grit that the previous generations had. And I'm sure this happened in all sports over time. The NFL in the 70s and 80s, it was just hard and rugged. Now you get guys coming out of college, actually in college, already making gazillions of dollars. And so theoretically, yes, what we've seen, the evolution of this group of players is a bunch of them were 21, 22, 23 in Qatar in 2022. And over the past 6 months or so, you saw a bunch of them, I don't know if entitled is the right word, but expectant that they were going to be part of this national team and that things were just going to sort of fall into place. And then they went through like a 6 or 7 game losing streak with the national team. And it's over the last few weeks, few months, it's changed back to where guys realize that it's time to get your stuff together, because you don't want to get embarrassed during a World Cup on home soil. But if all of it comes together, yes, what you've said is absolutely right. They are more battle tested in all the ways.
Well, Mauricio Pochettino is demanding. And so he walks into this group of players and he wants to establish a culture. And part of the culture is, I want to see you play. I really don't care what you did with Greg Berhalter.
That's right.
I totally respect that. And I'm a Pulisic devoted fan. I think he's about as good skill-wise as we've had. He's a really clever player. He feels global in any league, against any competition. But I don't like the word entitled, but I do feel like I almost want to defend him and go, Willie, LeBron's a bad comp. But he is our global star. Should he have not expected sort of a, dude, we understand you got stuff overseas? Or do you think Mauricio had a right to say, hey, I'm establishing a culture. Everybody's even. I mean, if you took over the Lions job, you'd be like, okay, Amaron St. Brown is our number one receiver. It's sort of understood in the room, right? Like, so I think it's a tough call, Landon. I think the United States men's national team job is a hard job. Brazil has higher expectations, but they're at a different time and place. What do you make of Mauricio's relationship handling of Pulisic in the early stages?
So I think both can be right. So from Christian's standpoint, he has done a ton already at 27 years old. And by the way, I think he just scored two more goals today in Italy. So he just keep racking them up. Um, but there is a level, and this is challenging for players in all sports, where
Right.
you feel like I've done the work, I've proven
Right.
myself, I should be on the team, I should be a starter. This should be the way it is. And unfortunately, not so much with Christian, but a lot of his colleagues with the national team sort of took that same attitude and mentality.
Yeah.
And then they got their butt kicked a while during the beginning part of this year in the summer. And so Pochettino, by the way, Pochettino has coached Mbappe, Harry Kane, Neymar, Messi. He some like random American player isn't going to fluster him, right? So what he's had to do is say, listen, guys, where he comes from in Argentina, if you declined an invite to the national team, it's like sacrilegious. Like you might as well never show up in Argentina again because the people there would cut off fingers to play for their national team.
Right.
And so when a few players at different times, and I'm excluding Christian from this argument because he's a different case, but when a few players have said, well, I'm a little tired, I don't want to go into the national team, his mind is just like, what are you talking about? You
Right.
don't want to play for your country. And so what he's done over time very successfully is brought real pride back. And it's crazy that I'm even saying this to you, Colin, real pride back in playing for your country and for your national team. And I think he's done a fantastic job of it. And now every time someone comes into camp, they have to fight and earn and scrap for every minute. And I think it's good.
Yeah, Landon, I think big picture it is good, but I think it's more difficult than maybe soccer writers and fans understand, is that there's a fine line in dealing with global stars, music, entertainment. It can be singing, it can be soccer, it can be basketball. The world's changed. The money, I mean, like you said, college quarterbacks make $5 million. We have separated from Europe financially over the last 2 decades. America has. Like, this is where capitalists come.
That's
So
right.
I do think our athletes, I mean, again, I'll go to London and I'll be in a restaurant and I'm like, you don't have air conditioning? This is London, the financial center of Europe. Sometimes, and I hate to use spoiled or entitled, it's the reality of the life here. And if you're a premier athlete in any sport, it is different. Group D is interesting. The sense is it's a great draw. Australia, always a little underrated, Paraguay, and then potentially, I guess Turkey is what many believe could be a favorite coming out.
Mm-hmm.
You say to yourself, well, it's a favorable draw. But let me ask you about playing in the States. And you see this in other sports. Sometimes playing at home brings enormous pressure.
Yeah.
Do you think, all right, now you're a favorite? Australia, you're the favorite. Well, Australia knows that. They would love to ruin your World Cup. There's a duality in that. I'd love to play at home, but shit, I've got to win. Your takeaway on playing at home, favored probably in a group. That's new. That's foreign territory for the United States men's national team.
Very foreign. Yeah. So the interesting thing is there are 3 countries who are hosting in this World Cup.
Right.
The Canadians at home will be rabid, intense, amazing support, no matter what happens. And it's based on expectations, right? Sports are all about expectations. Mexico, on the other end of the spectrum, if they go 10 minutes in their first match without scoring, there'll be some thoughts of maybe booing, some hesitation about cheering, whatever. They go 45 minutes without scoring against South Africa in their opener, you're going to hear a lot of boos, right? And that's where it turns from like support to pressure of you better perform or else. Soccer in America is somewhere in between. It's mostly support. It will be mostly support. But if for some reason lose the opening game to Paraguay, now there's like rampant pressure that turns up. And that's a whole different element. So it's an interesting dynamic and one that, to your point, it's a great point, we have not dealt with before. We have never gone, I was talking to Tim Howard this morning, we've never gone into a World Cup expected to win our group. And not even close. I mean, it's
That's
like
right.
not
Rather
even close.
easily.
And it's a very different dynamic because we were one of the seeded teams this time. The other 3 teams in our group are significantly, quote unquote, worse than we are. And so it's going to be a really interesting thing to follow during the World Cup.
What's reasonably
Hmm.
appropriate success?
Hmm.
Well, to you, what does it look like?
Okay, so the analogy I was thinking about, Colin, is in college basketball. If next year the NCAA went from 64 teams to 128 teams, your expectations of what success is would change if you
Right.
are a mid-major or if you're Duke or
That's
well,
right.
Duke or Kentucky, North Carolina, like they want to win. But if you're a mid-major or you're a Seton Hall or in the past, maybe, and I'm just making this up, you know better than I do, making an Elite Eight is wildly successful.
Wildly successful.
But now you have 128 teams in the NCAA. Now getting to a round of 16 is the comp. That's the actual comp. But in your mind, you're saying, oh, it's only a round of 16. We should have got to an Elite Eight. So my point in all that is in the past, there were 32 teams in the World Cup. Now there are going to be 48 teams. So if you get out of your group now, you're in a round of 32. Last time in Qatar, if you got out of your group, you were in a round of 16. So I don't exactly know, and it's going to be interesting how teams deem success. And this is where all the spin doctors will get. And I'm sure if US Soccer, if we make it out of the group and win the round of 32 game, they're going to say, well, this is maybe the most successful ever, even though our team in 2002 got to a quarterfinal. So I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but my opinion is winning the group is a success. Winning a first knockout stage, because if you win the group, we would play a third place team from another group. Winning that game, I think, should be an expectation. And then from there, a lot of it's based on who you play. And the way it's set up now is likely that team would be Belgium. And that's a team that on paper is probably a little better, but absolutely a game we could win.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I've said this in professional American football. Most Super Bowl champs have seven elite players in their prime going into it or still clinging to it. You
Hmm.
can't, Kansas City now, Chiefs, too old. Argue Seattle, little too young.
Mm.
So we have an interesting, I would say currently, and for the first time I can ever remember, I'm not sure our goalkeeping is in our top seven players, like for the first time in my
Well,
life.
I don't think so. Right.
Okay, let's take the best seven players. I would say all seven are either going into their prime
Yeah.
or just entered it. Now, we're still on the young side. We were the second youngest team in last World Cup. When we faced Netherlands, it felt a little bit like the dads and the oldest son. The physicality,
Yeah.
they were a bit bigger, a bit stronger, more experienced. I don't expect us to go toe to toe with Argentina. But I usually feel there's 10 to 12 teams going into a World Cup that will play a more defensive style, less attacking, more defensive. I don't see it this way. I think there's maybe 3 to 4 teams that we would be underdogs. But I do feel we can be aggressive. I mean, you know this. There were times you play Brazil, you don't go in attacking. What you're looking for is a late goal to win it, tie it. That's how we played forever. I don't feel that way with this team. I think our team speed. I think we can be a more attacking style. Or is that a very myopic American view?
Well, it is a myopic American view, but that's what we love about America, right? And we believe we can. But what more importantly is this team is set up to attack. And I don't mean attack with the ball. I mean to go and go after it. And that is they are young, athletic,
Yes.
physically durable. And in the previous regime under Berhalter, at times it was a little too tactical and let's be cagey. And what these guys, they're like lions ready to get out of the cage. You got to let them go. And Pochettino likes to play that way. And
Yes.
in world soccer now, it's become way, way, way more tactical and cagey and all these things. And so now, if you're a team that really goes after teams, you can really surprise teams. And we saw that we played Uruguay a month ago and beat them 5-1. And that's a
Yeah.
very good team. And they were just stunned. I was watching the game and I couldn't believe how unprepared Uruguay was for a team that just came after them and got in their face. And so if you can play that way with the momentum, with the crowd, with the energy of tens of millions of Americans, it doesn't really matter how far you go. You are going to inspire and put a product out that people are proud of. And I think that's what fans most want.
Yeah. So when you talk about the way soccer has changed, what you're basically saying is the analytic part, just like baseball and basketball. You're saying soccer's gotten a little bit more analytical and
A lot
actually,
more. Yeah.
okay, so this is a global reality of all the sports. And I always say I like manalytics. Analytics
Mhm.
plus let athletes be athletes. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, Landon, the clock says 8 minutes. Do your thing. Let's get
Hmm.
out of the. I think analytics has an absolute role, especially in volume sports and regular seasons. So I imagine you like the Americans to get out of Group D. Fair?
Yes. To win Group D. Yeah.
Okay. Big thanks to Halion and for the assist, reminding us that no one scores alone. To learn more, visit halionassist.com and follow at for the assist. Every goal starts with an assist.